Speaker, last night this House adopted a provision as part of the defense bill that rolls back anti-discrimination provisions contained in executive orders issued by the President in recent years. This is one of the ugliest episodes I've experienced in my 3+ years as a member of this House. The inclusion of such hate-based language in a defense bill designed to support our military sends exactly the wrong message at a time when we should all be unified in supporting the efforts of our service members around the world. My father was a veteran. He was nearly killed in the service of his country. I've never voted against a defense bill before. I never thought I would. Almost a quarter of the constituents I represent in the Hudson Valley of New York come from families where is serving in the military or has served in the military. I represent the United States Military Academy of West Point. We've helped 800 veterans, one at a time, out of my district office in my 3 years in Congress, and we've passed legislation directly aimed at making their lives better. So it is not with an easy heart that I come to the House floor and oppose the defense bill. But this legislation snuck into the bill and kept in the bill, despite a bipartisan effort to remove it, sends exactly the wrong signal. And it says that we are so concerned about discriminating against a group of LGBT Americans that we are willing to destroy the bipartisan cooperation we should have on a defense bill. So my amendment today gives us another chance. It gives us a chance to correct some of the damage done last night by the misguided efforts of some members of this body. And what it would say is quite simple, is that we shall not do anything in this bill that contravenes the anti-discrimination executive orders of the President. It's pretty simple. We should not be spending taxpayer dollars to promote hate, and we should not be justifying that by some religious exemption, when in fact the language in the defense bill simply rolls back the anti-discrimination provisions that the President put in executive order to those contained in the original Civil Rights Act and the ADA. It is specifically designed to exclude LGBT Americans, and in doing that, it aligns itself with the parallel efforts we see happening in states like North Carolina. It's wrong, and it doesn't have anything to do with our military. It doesn't have anything to do with fighting ISIS. It doesn't have anything to do with religious protections. It's about bigotry, plain and simple. And today we have another chance to do the right thing and to send the right message and to stick up for our military. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
No, gentleman, yield.
Yes, I will.
Gentlemen.
I just want to state I support the amendment, and I certainly oppose discrimination in any way, shape, or form, particularly as it relates to, and in this case, as it relates to federal contracting. So I do support the amendment. Yield back.
Reclaiming my time, I want to thank the gentleman from Pennsylvania, and I want to acknowledge that it was the gentleman from Pennsylvania, together with Mr. Hanna from New York, who courageously led the effort to roll back the discrimination in a bipartisan way in the Rules Committee. And that effort was thwarted. And so I'm very honored by your support, and I'm honored by the position you've taken in this House over the last couple of days. And I yield back, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman yields back. Any member claiming time in opposition? Gentleman for Texas.
I rise in opposition.
The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, I do respect the gentleman for his right to come and offer under an open rule in a different bill his objections to what occurred last night. Last night, the House of Representatives passed the bill, and today the gentleman's offering a limiting amendment that would turn back that agreement that we made. Mr. Chairman, several days ago, the House Armed Services Committee handled this issue. It was not sneaking something in. It was a straight-up vote. It was a vote that was held in the Armed Services Committee, and then it passed. And then the final vote was 60-2. Mr. Chairman, that is a bipartisan vote. That is a vote from people who were on the committee, that they were not going to let one issue or another get in the way of supporting the men and women of our United States military. They very clearly, all of them on the committee, understood during this long markup exactly the implications, and they lived with it. I am here today to say that the gentleman is fully entitled to do as he's doing. but the vote was held last night. The overwhelming viewpoint was, let's support
Will the
our
gentleman
United
yield?
States. I will in just a second. Let's support the United States military, and let's get this done. Not the next day come on the floor with spilled milk on your face and say, I want to go back and I want to relitigate a decision that we made last night with every member here on the floor. I would yield to the gentleman. I admire the gentleman.
Well, I appreciate the admiration. Let me ask my colleague, is it necessary to discriminate against gays and lesbians to support our military?
Let me say this. That issue was handled, and the gentleman knows this, in committee.
And it was resolved last night it was resolved last night in the affirmative. In other words, this House said that it would include in a defense bill a provision that would roll back basic employment protections for gays and lesbians. And my question to my colleague is simply, Mr. Speaker, if that's necessary for the promotion of national defense, is it necessary to discriminate against gays and lesbians and transgender Americans?
I appreciate the gentleman.
Safe?
I will reclaim my time, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the gentleman. I am not without an understanding that there are people who do have ideas which override other bigger ideas. I'm simply saying to you, Mr. Chairman, I stand in opposition to what the gentleman is attempting to do here the next day in a separate bill to limit what we did last night, when this body did understand that many people have a strong viewpoint that support the gentleman, and many people, more people, have a viewpoint that is against. Not my point. My point is we need to transcend that as a body, and we did last night, and we spoke very clearly. We need to support the men and women of the United States military, and we do not believe this is a stumbling block because we don't view what the gentleman's saying is the critical and key issue. That is why I stand in opposition for what the gentleman is doing, and I appreciate him, and I would yield back my time.
Gentleman from Texas yields back.
Consent to reclaim my time.
Objection.
Objection.
As noted. Questions on the amendment offered by the gentleman.
Move to strike the last word.
Move to strike last word. Recognized for 5 minutes.
I'd like to yield my time to the gentleman.
Thank the gentleman. I'd like to again express, my thanks for my colleague's admiration. It's nice to have admiration. It's better to have rights, and it's better to be treated equally and without condescension. And I would just note, Mr. Speaker, that the question remains unanswered, whether it's necessary to discriminate against gays and lesbians in federal contracting to protect our country, to support our troops. Is it necessary to remove employment protections in employers covering 28 million Americans so that we can fight the war on ISIS? Is it necessary to protect ourselves in our houses of worship by discriminating in federal contracting in businesses that are in the business of commerce and in private contracting? It is a tired and old and false choice to suggest that we need to discriminate to keep ourselves safe, to keep ourselves free. And earlier people in earlier times have made those arguments, sir, and they have one after another been reversed. So the notion that because this House did it last night, it can't get it right today is at odds with a lot of American history, where this House got a lot of things wrong for a lot of people, for a lot of years. And then finally, slowly, almost despite ourselves, we figured out that we can be safe and free and equal. And in fact, becoming more equal in some ways makes us safer, because it is the promotion of our values through our actions and our ideas and our words, not just our weapons, that promote our values around the world. And I yield back.